Pro wrestling and American football have always had a complicated relationship. Some of wrestling's greatest stars have football backgrounds. Football players have had wrestling matches. Wrestling shows have sold out football stadiums. Then, of course, there's the original XFL. One of the more infamous spectacles that attempted to combine the graps with the gridiron came on January 1st, 1996, when the WWF held its first and only edition of the Raw Bowl. Competing directly with that year's Orange Bowl game, the ring was made over to resemble a football field. There were cheerleaders and a marching band, and the opening contest saw a four-way elimination tag team match with custom jerseys, a timeout rule, Earl Hebner in a hat, and lots of football jargon.
We're not talking first-round draft picks. We're talking Heisman Trophy winner. And there's going to be a Big 8. We're not talking about a conference. I wish he was wearing his cleats. They could go all the way. Savio Vega, far away from the line of scrimmage. Oh, look out. Here we go. From the top of the goal post in.
The match was won by the tag team champions, the Smoking Guns, who were awarded the Lombardi Trophy. The Steve Lombardi Trophy, that is.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Hey. Whoa.
Rude. And here's an amazing coincidence for you. On the same week the Raw Bowl aired, in arguably the football capital of America, a different wrestling organization made their own attempt to combine the two worlds.
M Sports Productions presents Bodyguards vs. Bandits.
And it makes the Raw Bowl look like peak bloodline storytelling. This week I'm talking about Bodyguards vs. Bandits, a standalone event that was taped on January 5th, 1996 and aired on pay-per-view 1 month later. Taking place in Dallas, Texas, and featuring a who's who of that territory at the time, it was the first and only pay-per-view to emanate from the world-famous Sportatorium. Bodyguards featured talent from the Continental Wrestling Alliance, the Texas version, not the Memphis one. The CWA, which has been mistakenly called the Confederate Wrestling Alliance, was one of the many organizations hoping to fill the void left by the collapse of world-class championship wrestling and lent their talent to the showrunners. And that's an important distinction. The CWA helped put on this show, but this was not officially a CWA production. So who actually was running things? Well, let's briefly jump from Texas to California and meet Dominic Menaldi. Since 1990, Dom Menaldi had gone under the self-appointed title of the world's greatest bodyguard, which is Frank Farmer erasure, and I will have none of that. The former powerlifter and Greco-Roman wrestler opened a bodyguard agency with his brother Art in 1988 that has boasted a wide range of clients, from Barbra Streisand to Robert De Niro to Mikhail Gorbachev. And with moves like this, how can you not believe the hype? Above all else, though, Menaldi was a businessman, a showman, dare I say a little bit carny. Not only did he have the bombastic moniker from his bodyguarding business, he and his family also ran their own video production and distribution company, M Sports Productions. M Sports appears to live on today through a website called The Fight Channel, where they offer an odd variety of sports-related videos with dubious descriptions. But even more than bodyguarding or shilling tapes, Menaldi's greatest claim to fame in the 90s? Wrestling bears.
You have to know, though, that people think you're out of your mind, right?
Yes, on a handful of occasions, Menaldi would actually get in the ring and tussle with massive bears, getting plenty of flack from animal rights groups along the way. And once you go from wrestling fellow humans to bears, how hard can it be to go back? According to the showrunners, the original plan was to run a pay-per-view featuring real bodyguards having shoot fights with real convicts live from Alcatraz. However, Alcatraz allegedly rejected the idea, citing the recent pressure from Capitol Hill against the growing combat sports industry. That's how we got Bees and Bees, presented by M Sports Productions. Based on how this entire show was put together, it's obvious this was an attempt to further raise Dom's celebrity stock. And what better way to do that in 1996 than via independent wrestling? For the life of me, I don't know why they chose to run a show in Dallas, Texas. It couldn't have been that hard to find a ring, a group of wrestlers, and a decent venue in Southern California where the Menaldis were actually based. But once you watch this show, you'll realize that is the least of the issues with this event. I mean, for starters, take a look at how they overhyped and advertised this show.
M Sports presents the event that's generated both controversy and concern. Bodyguards vs. Bandits in the ultimate professional wrestling match, hosted by Boom Boom Mancini. Hard and vicious bandits fighting in a no-holds-barred brawl against the world's best professional bodyguards. Be there as the world's greatest bodyguard, Dominic Menaldi, takes on some of the world's best wrestlers.
Convicts versus professional bodyguards? Controversy and concern? Oh brother, sign me up. This is gonna be a hit and a half. Let's explore this bizarre passion project known as Bodyguards vs. Bandits.
Due to the violent nature of this event, Request recommends viewing by adults only.
Wow, I've never seen so many kids in the crowd for an adults-only wrestling show. Also, not to spoil anything, but there is nothing on this show even remotely worthy of an adults-only rating from the cable company to start this show off. There's no language, there's not even any blood. It's all just hype and marketing. It's supposed to make the show come off more risque and desirable for the younger viewers who stumble upon this show. And for a few of them, I'm sure it worked.
Hey, it's deception, damn it, and it's not fair. I didn't see one pair of boobs the entire show.
The pay-per-view officially kicks off with a title card from MS Productions, presumably made in MS Paint. We then go to our host, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former light heavyweight boxing champion. Now, I don't know how Mancini got this gig, but let's just say it wasn't for his ability to work a camera. This guy did every one of these stand-ups with his eyes dodging the lens like it was an opponent's oncoming haymaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the match of the century, the Bodyguards versus the Bandits. Tonight, you'll see some of the world's greatest wrestlers in a no-holds-barred match on their way to a title.
There is no title. So,
the fights will be coming up soon, but first, we'll hear from some of the fighters themselves and take a good look at The Rock.
Oh man, are they scooping Rocky Maivia 9 months before his debut? For the next minute, we just get this brief history of Alcatraz as the voiceover guy describes how it was nearly impossible to escape from and names some of the famous criminals who stayed there. How about that? A wrestling match and a history lesson in one show? Talk about value.
Which is why this place became the residence of such notorious criminals as Machine Gun Kelly, Al Capone, and Robert Stroud. This bout is being scored by a totally new system.
Well, I guess we're talking about the wrestling now. After a sweet transition of a man made of static you'll never see again, the voiceover guy breaks down the rules of the big main event, the first ever football rules match. That's right, this no-holds-barred, controversial, and concerning bout between hard-nosed bodyguards and badass criminals will take place under the auspices of a really weird gimmick match. Here are the rules. It's a 12-man tag team match with 4 15-minute rounds, one man in at a time. Fuck me, I hate this already. From there, it works kind of like an Iron Man match, but the scoring system is borrowed loosely from American football. A pinfall earns a team 7 points, even though technically it should be 6, but hey, things are confusing enough as it is. I don't want to split hairs. If a wrestler is caught throwing someone over the top rope, the opposing team would be given 3 points, while other lesser infractions would give them 1 point. Nothing says excitement in wrestling in 1996 quite like the over-the-top rope rule. The team with the highest score at the end of the 4 quarters wins the match. If it all sounds a bit hard to follow, don't worry. Soon enough, you'll find that between the fans, the wrestlers, and the announcers, you're not alone. And if you're wondering what the connection is between a Bodyguards versus Bandits match in Dallas and Alcatraz prison in San Francisco and what the hell football's got to do with any of it, don't. We then go to the site of the action and look at all those excited fans. A whopping 2,600 people packed the Sportatorium on this night, one of the biggest crowds that building had seen in a long time, making it one of the best attended non-federation shows in America that year. So what if allegedly 90% of it was papered? It's now time for a gauntlet of boring backstage promos. Boom Boom Mancini starts off with Guido Falcone, one half of the Sicilian Studs team alongside his partner, Vito, not booked for this match.
Guido, how did you become a bandit?
Well, I'll tell you what, Vince Mancini.
When it comes to the order these promos are played in, it's all over the place. It's not like here's a bunch of faces, then here's a bunch of heels, or even A-B-A-B. It's just all played at random, which makes it very confusing. It's all the same background, same interviewer, same bad haircuts. If I'm jumping into this show with no knowledge of who most of these people are, which I am, I'm going to need a bit more clarification on who's on what team. Could we at least get a different interviewer to interview one of the teams, if only to spare us from Ray Mancini, backstage interviewer?
The newly crowned CWA World Heavyweight Champion Tag Team Wrestling. Gentlemen, Rod, they say that everyone who's looking at you here tonight, they know that you're known as the California Stud and they're looking for the gunning for you. Any problems tonight? Now that you've seen a chance to hear and look at some of your opponents tonight, what do you feel will be who you feel will be your toughest match? Rod, they say your trademark is the famous body slam. Will you be applying that tonight?
It's a power slam off the ropes.
Dominic is the second guy they talk to, which feels early since he's the special guest having his own big boy wrestle party.
Well, I'll say Guido, what's he, Guido the Stud or is Guido the Stump? I don't know his game he's playing. I don't know why he's insulting everybody, but I tell you something. We're going to get in the ring, and we're going to sell it there.
Any of them pose a problem for you?
Well, they're all problems to society. That's why we're here. It's the bodyguards versus the bandits, convicts, scumbags, whatever you want to call them.
Come on, man, like, wear a hat or gel your hair or something. Hey, wow, look everyone, an actual future star on this show. Big John Hawk had just made his debut for the WWF by the time this show aired. And all I have to say is, what a way to wrap up your independent career.
So they say that your favorite trademark hold is the lariat hold. Does this contraption you got over your shoulder help you with that hold?
Not at all, Boom Boom.
Up next, the CWA Tag Champs High Voltage, not to be confused with the WCW team of the same name.
What's it feel like to have these bandits coming after you tonight?
Well, Boom Boom, I want to tell you something.
Oh, did not expect that voice to come from that haircut, Bo Vegas. We hear from Mark Valiant, who was apparently moonlighting as a fake Von Erich around the same time. He's been working in Europe lately, and what's the biggest difference between the fans there and the fans in America?
I'll tell you what, the U.S. crowd has been around a lot longer. They've seen a lot more wrestling. They're a lot more experienced about what's going on.
And as opposed to the European crowd,
Exactly.
It's new to them?
It's fairly new to them.
There's Scott Putski, the son of recent WWF Hall of Famer Ivan, Rugged Rod Price, and CWA World Champ Chip the Firebreaker of WCW and Smoky Mountain fame.
Let me tell you something. Well, let me tell you one thing, guards.
We're well over 10 minutes in, and we are finally starting to amble toward the vicinity of some wrestling action. Bodybuilding legend Ronnie Coleman comes out with some ladies for some reason. We finally hear the announce team for the evening: Doyle King, Mumblemouth Mancini, and the Angel of Death, a wrestler known for working in World Class and in WCW, where he was one of the first people to wrestle under the hood as the Black Scorpion. Though honestly, I'm glad they didn't stick with him. Ole Anderson's voice is way more intimidating than this guy's.
You know, leave it at that, Bart. He's going to assemble a pretty good group of talent. If I have my suspicions, there'll be some wrongdoings going on.
King was a popular and longtime fixture of wrestling commentary in Dallas, but even he was made to look foolish at times during this broadcast. Early on, he's actually cut off mid-sentence as they go to a package running down the team rosters.
Which consists of the tag team heavyweight champions, Devin Michaels and Bo Vegas.
Let's take a look at the Bodyguards team.
Guys, this is a taped show. So here are the team breakdowns. The Bodyguards will be played by Putski, Menaldi, Valiant, Mr. High Voltage,
Devin Michaels and Bo Vegas. Mr. High Voltage are both
Steve Cox and Coach Ivan Putski at ringside. Meanwhile, on Team Bandit, you had Rod Price, Guido Falcone, Chip, Bradshaw, Alex Porteau, Sean Summers, and their guiding lights at ringside, General Skandar Akbar, and some dude named Hassan the Assassin. And in case you still couldn't figure out who to cheer for, all the bad guys are wearing black and the good guys are wearing white, except for Menaldi. Wow, that is definitely a match with a lot of wrestlers in it. Huge missed opportunity in not giving these guys actual bodyguard and criminal gimmicks they can wear in the ring. It's a one-off show. Who's gonna care? Play the role, fellas. This announce team is freaking cursed. King is alright, but the Angel of Death sounds way too sleepy and casual. And then there's Mancini, who not only contributes less to this show than Art Donovan did at King of the Ring 94, but is almost completely inaudible the entire time because his microphone is too quiet.
There's a lot of beef in there, all right?
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
Right, exactly. Yeah, these guys are trying real hard, man.
I can't believe this. I'm already about to tap out and we're just at the entrances. These graphics are a mess. There are misspellings. Many of them are for the wrong guys. How'd they get this wrong when they had a whole month to work on it in post? And who the hell is this lady?
Making up one team, of course, their alternate is Dom Menaldi.
That's right, Dom Menaldi, the most sought-after bodyguard around.
What happened there? Where'd that other voice come from?
Bodyguards versus Bandits. Look like it's going to be pretty incredible. Now back to you guys at ringside.
There's a shot of Guido Falcone, who is the...
Oh, man. Oh, brother. I have heard some bad commentary edits in my day. But you know it's bad for that three-man team when they had to bring in a fourth person to come in and record new shit over the bad stuff.
Putski locking it on tight.
that's right. Eye in the sky, Tom Scott here. Putski bringing it on really hard. And another blow!
A lot of long-haired guys out there.
Yeah, long hair. Putski looking like a caveman with that hair out there. Oh my God. Into the side.
This disembodied voice butts in constantly throughout the match, especially in the first quarter. It is pure auditory insanity. Even taking into account the poor audio quality of this online rip of the show, you can still tell the vast difference in energy and quality between the live commentary and the recorded commentary. Every time they switch over, it completely jars you out of the action. It's impossible to focus on what the wrestlers are even doing because Eye in the Sky Tom Scott needs to call every other move and pretend like he's there in the conversation. It's like when a singer does a duet with a dead musician's old recording.
They're holding his pants! Look, they're holding his pants! Angel, back to you.
Was that a penalty, Doyle? Or?
I mean, with an eye in the sky's view, Tom Scott. Angel, what do you think of this guy, Devin Michaels?
Well, you know, once you got that armbar locked.
And what really sucks is the wrestling itself isn't even worth watching. It's not bad per se, it's just not great because the guys in the ring don't know what to do in there. According to the referee of the match, James Beard, who revealed some details on a message board back in 2001, there was no plan going in, no finishes, no idea how the match was supposed to work. Beard himself had just flown back into the country after a run in Japan and was jet-lagged as hell as he basically became the point man for the entire thing. And so this supposedly groundbreaking and innovative match is just 4 15-minute blocks of 12 dudes calling it in the ring, brother, some of the most boring spots and sequences even by 96 standards. No storylines to speak of, very little flow, not a whole lot of selling, and a crowd that was quickly dying a death as the first quarter of the football match wrapped up in a scoreless tie.
Were you ever in an event like this?
No, not like this. This is a new concept. It's kind of interesting, though. This might go.
The second quarter gets underway, and if I didn't know any better, I'd accuse Bradshaw of not knowing how to take a hip toss or an arm drag. Firebreaker Chip asks for a timeout but doesn't get it, which, why not? Even the Raw Bowl had that. Because of how many bodies are already there, the managers at ringside are basically window dressing. Coach Putski blows his whistle a lot during the match, which wouldn't be so bad if the referee didn't also have a whistle. That being said, I appreciate his commitment to the theme by wearing a coach's headset. It's finally time for Menaldi to get his first bit of in-ring action, and guess what happens next?
Long time here, taking a heck of a beating.
In comes Menaldi.
There's two big guys going at it.
The #1 bodyguard in the world today.
Oh my God, it's the total opposite of a Road Warrior pop. I got cold watching that. Suddenly, the world's bestest and most badass bodyguard looks a little bit exposed, and the untrained outsider immediately shits the bed. The boys can't do anything with him as he's unable to give or take a single thing. I love that they edit out whatever ungraceful move Menaldi had to make to get over and tag out. This was their star, the show's entire focal point, the bodyguard in the Bodyguards versus Bandits match. And in less time than the 90 seconds he was in that ring, he looked like 100% grade A ass. We finally get some points on the board when Chip fakes a leg injury and rolls up Michaels, putting the Bandits up 7-0. And by this point, everyone involved is getting tired.
And look at these guys leaning on the apron. When you're leaning on the apron, yeah.
The ring is bereft of suspense as the clock winds down and the first half is in the books. Sadly, this match must continue, and if that's not punishment enough, let's go back to Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, wow. We rule this mother, Alcatraz. We're the baddest in the USA, Alcatraz. Wow.
There's Boom Boom Mancini standing there looking at stuff. He's looking at this thing, he's looking at that thing. Man, he is learning a lot about Alcatraz today. And then there's some completely convincing action between Menaldi and that Hassan the Assassin dude.
There's no escape, can't break the chain. Like Terminator X, don't feel no pain.
After that very unnecessary music video, Mancini sits down to interview real-life Alcatraz convict Jim Quillen, who serves time there from 1942 to 53. Wrestling!
Were you have any personal contact with these gentlemen, or did you, I mean, of course you've probably seen them in the courtyard, but were you had any friendships with any of these men?
Did you meet Al Capone? What was he like? Who was his favorite jazz singer? They interview him in one place, then again in a different place. I'm guessing they had to get one last bit of footage because they forgot to plug his book the first time.
Stop by the big store and pick up Jim's personal book, Alcatraz from the Inside, Jim Quillen's story. Thank you very much, Jim.
God bless you, Ray.
You too, my friend.
Damn, dude, you got somewhere to be? Well, after the world's most boring halftime show, it's finally time to go back to the second half of this football match.
Yeah, second half. I tell you what, this is Hair in the Air, Johnny St. Clair. What an awful show this has been so far, am I right, Brian?
Who's that? Where are you yelling from?
Yeah, exactly. This is Hair in the Air, Johnny St. Clair. I am your collaborator. Been here the whole time, and now it's my turn to review the show.
What?
It's time for us to look at the team members again, and whoa, those graphics are wild! Let's keep going back to this shot of the announce team and all those lovely chords. This is Hair in the Air, Johnny St. Clair. Back to you, Brian. I tell you what, it was shocking to see Devin Michaels counter the crossbody from Chip the Firebreaker. Whoa, that tied up the game. Back to you, Brian. This is Hair in the Air, Johnny St. Clair.
So by this point, the referee starts to enforce some of the rules, which actually leads to a lot of lead changes. They go so fast, even Doyle King can't keep up.
Referee James Beard declares a point be given to the team of the Guards. Disqualification move scoring 3 points for the Bandits. A 3-point infraction against the Bandits. That brings the score to, the Guards 11 and the Bandits 13. 1-point infraction scored for the Bandits.
Well, you know what they say.
Yeah, you know what they say, Brian. If you can't keep your rules and scoring straight in such a silly match, then it's just a bad idea.
Go away!
Hair in the Air, Johnny St. Clair.
Bradshaw hits his big lariat hold on Steve Cox. Then Porteau makes the cover to put the Bandits back on top 18-11 as the third quarter expires soon after. Wait, did I say third quarter? Because it sure felt like the 23rd.
Whose idea was this concept?
I don't know. I don't think it's ever been done before.
Do you know, Ray?
No, I don't. I think the promoter of tonight's event, MS Productions, I believe whoever.
It's time for the fourth quarter. The fans are dead, the wrestlers are just about out of ideas, and we finally get Mancini's first intelligible bit of commentary.
I mean, he was throwing punches like he was swinging his purse.
You can also hear him correctly point out that Dom Menaldi has been doing exactly jack and squat since being in the ring 2 quarters earlier. And by this point, there's almost no reason to listen to King as he desperately tries to make sense of the scoring.
1 point scored for the Bandits, bringing the score 19-11. 1 point scored for the Guards by interference from Chip the Firebreaker, bringing the score to 18 points for the Bandits to 12.
This show could have definitely used the mercy rule. I'll give the guys in this match credit. We don't even get a rest hold until the final 5 minutes. The action hasn't been that action-packed, but at least what's there is fairly consistent. The most exciting spot of the whole match comes when John Hawkshaw Bradfield accidentally lariats his own partner, allowing Cox to get a 3 count, tying things up at 19 with about 3 minutes left. It looks like the match is supposed to end with Putski hitting the Polish hammer on Price, but time would run out before the 3 count. Unfortunately, they hit the spot a bit early, and well...
I'll do something else, sir. Stop.
Not quite there. 2 count.
2 count.
A 2 count.
No.
And there's the bell.
That's it.
There's the bell.
This was a taped show! At the end of regulation, we're all tied up, so it's time for sudden death. After a bit more back and forth from the regulars, Putski employs some brilliant strategy by tagging in Menaldi. Dom is immediately shit-canned out of the ring and kicked right in the dome by Bradshaw. 1 second later, and you can tell he is on Dream Street after that. I have no doubt in my mind that Bradshaw took liberties with Dom, especially compared to how other heels treated him during this matchup. It definitely tracks for the guy. I don't agree with what he did, and even though Dom is untrained, he still didn't deserve that. However, Dirty Dom is somehow able to power through his brain injury and scraps with Hassan TA while chaos breaks out everywhere. Both teams get penalized, so each team gets a point and it's still a tie. You know, like in football when 2 teams get penalized on the same play and they each get points? Old Sandbags Menaldi is somehow both unconscious and at the same time using every ounce of his strength to fight going up for a slam by Rod Price. The rugged man finally gets him up, only for Devin Michaels to dropkick his own partner, knocking Price down and covering him for the deciding touchdown/pinfall. The Bodyguards win, Porteau and Bradshaw get their last couple shots in, then the faces stand tall in the end.
Even though Dom Menaldi was the deciding factor, we have to acknowledge his brother Art Menaldi, who would have wrestled tonight, but was taken out earlier this year in an accident.
I'm sorry, what? Taken out in an accident? You're just gonna leave us hanging there? Mr. Eye in the Sky, you're not going to elaborate further on that? Nope. The show is all wrapped up and King interviews the man of the hour, and in his own unique way, he puts over how tough wrestling really is.
I came here today, I thought wrestling was sort of fake. I got bruises all over me, and it almost knocked me out there in that second round there, and I didn't want... It ain't fake, brother. It hurts.
Doyle also chats with the furious Skandar Akbar. Then it's time to hear from the mysterious Hassan the Assassin, who destroys his whole gimmick with one interview.
Why did you jump in the ring in the middle of this football bout?
Because I didn't want to tolerate all this harassing.
Was it the fact that you're an illegal alien that the guards were trying to throw you out of the building and get you out to the green van out back?
I just filled the paper. I'll be citizen pretty soon, you know? I'm not prejudiced. I got a color TV at home.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got a color TV at home.
Why are you here? Ray Mancini, want to wrap all this up while acting as bored as humanly possible?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you saw it. The Bodyguards win the first round with the sudden death overtime. Next, they will advance the next round against the Navy SEALs on a barge at sea.
No, they will not, but can you imagine if they did?
I will get you, menaldi, next time! I will, you're gonna be mine!
Well, that was certainly a jump scare to end things, but with that, the show is finally wrapped up.
What's happening over there in the ring? Hey, what's going on over there, man?
Super Ultimate Wrestling Team Championship, Bodyguards versus Bandits. I wouldn't want to be
Going on? Why is there a bonus ending? Why am I hearing a beat?
Here's the boom blam, bodyguard slam. Boom blam, bodyguard slam. Boom blam, bodyguard slam. Boom blam, bodyguard slam.
Steps in the ring like I don't give a damn. I am the strongest bandit you ever saw, with more wisdom and stripes than your grandpa. All y'all better recognize.
I think we can all agree that The Longest Yard is a great piece of cinematic business. Either version, really. I love the story of a sanctioned football game between the plucky prisoners and their abusive guards, where the heroes get a degree of payback against their aggressors. But the Menaldis took that concept, flipped the face-heel dynamic, added wrestling to it, then produced everything with a blindfold on, turning the whole thing into one big confusing shit show. Then they added a field trip to Alcatraz on top of that, since they shot all the footage for a different canceled project, and damn it, they had to use it somewhere. I don't even believe the football match is a bad concept. I like the idea of a Team Iron Man match, but everyone involved has to be on board for it to work, and it's safe to say that was not the case this time around, and you felt it when you watched it back. Dom Menaldi is no crossover talent, and he did not belong in that ring. Maybe outsiders who've never seen a wrestling match won't be able to tell the difference, but to everyone else, those fleeting moments he had in the match were abysmal. If this was the world's greatest bodyguard, then this was not a great look for Bodyguards. Who knows if things might have gone differently if they'd filmed in LA, or if Menaldi was a team coach instead of a participant, or if the wrestlers leaned more into the theme. At least Dom seemed to walk away from the experience with a greater appreciation for the business and the pain these wrestlers go through.
I got bruises on my head and my back and my legs. These guys, they worked me over pretty good. I have no respect for wrestlers.
So, how did the show actually do? From all my research, I couldn't find a single official published number. I'd always heard rumors that it did worse than Heroes of Wrestling or the UWF's Beach Brawl, but I actually reached out to and spoke with Art Menaldi, one of the showrunners for Bodyguards vs. Bandits, Dom's older brother. Don't worry, he's fine, he wasn't in an accident, but he did tell me the show netted 250,000 buys, $5 million in total. Now, first of all, let me just say for the record, I deeply appreciate Mr. Menaldi reaching out back to me, responding to my inquiry, and answering the questions I had about this show. I don't have access to his books, so he could be telling the truth for all I know. That being said, let us not forget what the pay-per-view market was like for wrestling around this time. Take a good look at the buy rates for the WWF and WCW in the 6 months before and after Bodyguards vs. Bandits. You're gonna tell me that this show did equal numbers to the reveal of the third man? That this god-awful thing did slightly less numbers than when Shawn won the '96 Rumble? You're telling me you duped that many people out of 20 bucks? I cannot believe it. I refuse to believe it. Those mullets, 250,000 buys in 1996? If that was the case, wouldn't more wrestling fans today have heard of this show? Wouldn't you have run a whole lot more of them, like the Navy SEALs on the barge deal? Would my video on this be arguably the most comprehensive look at this stupid show that anyone has done in the last 28 years? Well, it turns out the Fight Channel website does advertise a sequel of sorts as part of what they're calling the Super Wrestle-Off, advertised as a series of football-style matches with a bunch of definitely real teams and not just unrelated footage purchased from Jesse Hernandez. Now let's see what happens when you try to purchase and actually watch this show. Oh, so these guys are carny. Anyway, Dom Menaldi's next big happening took place in 1999 when he wrestled yet another bear. Sometime later, he bought a house in Huntington Beach, and after successfully fighting the city over it, slowly began to transform it into a wild Gothic castle. The Castle House, as it was called, became a local destination, and for several Halloweens, it was transformed into a massive haunted house, drawing thousands of people to it every year. Unfortunately, the house caught fire in December of 2020. He tried to fix the house through a GoFundMe that fell well short of expectations. This came after he caught flack from HB's online community for being a vocal COVID denier and anti-masker, only for him to contract COVID in June of that year. He would recover, but 3 years later, in August of 2023, Dom Menaldi would pass away at the age of 59. From wrestling people to wrestling bears to bodyguarding to fighting City Hall, Dom clearly lived a full and adventurous life in spite of his controversies. I suppose if you're going to take the kind of risks that he did, you have to also be willing to accept that sometimes they don't pay off. But if you had the choice to be on Bradshaw's bad side or a Bear's, oof, that's a heck of a toss-up. Well, that's going to do it for this review, folks. Have you seen Bodyguards versus Bandits? What did you think of the football rules style? Let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, comment section. Whoa, did you see all those names earlier? So many letters. Anyway, hair in the air, Johnny St. Clair here. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out the Patreon, check out ProWrestlingTees.com, check out the... Hey, Brian, what are you doing with that chair? Wait, you got a crazy look in your eye, man. Don't do it. No! Hair in the air, Johnny St. Clair.
All right, folks, up next on our tour of Alcatraz, we're going to check out the cafeteria. And hey, you know what they have at the cafeterias, right? Food. Yeah. And later on in the tour, we are going to see the boiler room. And if you look over here in this cell, oh my God!